What's happening, everyone? I'm very excited to have a couple gentlemen joining me today from the Power City team, Just Ask Jesse, and TheLongVacation. The other day on stream, I said Christmas vacation. I said a long vacation. And then eventually I'm like, God, what is this? I had to look on Twitter. Let me click on the profile. Let me look at the exact username. It is TheLongVacation. So apologies for mixing that up earlier. But yes, I finally figured it out. It is TheLongVacation. It has been a long time since I talked to this guy. So I think last year, was it last year or early this year? One of those. I had like a couple of times talk Power City and otherwise. Really good conversations. Those streams were actually really good from what I remember. So glad to have him back today to talk Power City and all things PulseChain ecosystem. This one is going to be fun. Jesse's been tweeting about some interesting stuff as well. So I got a great topic list going on. I'm glad I spent a little bit of time before the stream. It's been a busy day, but I put something together that I think will make a good show. So again, here to stay informed. I'm not going to quote Ben Shapiro, but facts don't care about your feelings sometimes. I'll say that one. Oh, it's getting spicy. It's getting spicy, isn't it? All right, everyone. Without further ado, let's welcome these two back to the show for the second or third time. Jesse, probably like sixth or seventh time. TheLongVacation and Just Ask Jesse. How's it going, gentlemen?
Hello, y'all.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Very professional, very, very founderly of you. TheLongVacation. Have your camera on. You got your nice hair. You got the good background. Looks like you're on some sort of vacation. Not quite Christmassy, but that's okay. It's yeah. I don't know how many people saw the stream the other day, but I'm like, God, what is his name again? It's something vacation. I was trying to think about it. So that's always fun when you're on stream trying to forget somebody's name. So, but I cannot forget your ecosystem, mate. This is one of the, again, I said this the other day too, is like respect for actually shipping something so far. We got PortalX swap out there. I know a lot more stuff in the pike as well. We got, other projects and other founders stuff. They have stuff on testnet. Some of them already launched fiat and otherwise. Got a lot of banking apps going on right now and more coming down the stream. I'm very excited for it. But yeah, shout out to y'all's team for delivering something so far and so many different pieces that need to come together to get the rest of it done. A lot of people have been asking when it's going to come. We'll talk about that a little bit later on, but I'm just when it's ready. I'm fine with when it's ready. So I'm sure we'll get more into that as well. But let's real quick. Let's 2 more weeks, 4 more months, 2 more weeks. One of those. It's hard to say, but yeah. What's just I want to maybe I think we should just get straight into it too. I'll talk to the chat here in a second, but I think since we were talking about it in the green room. This is something I saw earlier. I was actually driving. I stopped and looked at it for a minute. I was like, oh, this is interesting. And then I went through the comments a little bit. I like Jesse's Twitter feed. He talks about a lot of fun stuff. And this is something that caught my eye and thought would be worthy to talk about, especially if it's not fun, as we don't suspect it is. And let me put it on the screen here. So this is a tweet that I've seen retweeted a little bit too, especially from I saw it come from Jesse. PLS user accounts getting blacklisted and tagged as decentralized investment fraud. Interacting PulseBridge could your whole crypto holdings. There's a little bit of, let's see, where's the thread? Let me go to Jesse's. Jesse, you want to kind of give us a background on this? I'll kind of poke around a little bit. I know there's some more nuance to this, but what is going on?
I was just cruising around some feeds, and I noticed that this guy, scroll up, what's his name, Mr. Talk to Me?
Yeah,
yeah. Takumi, he had like this concern that he was dealing with where he said that Seller had his address blacklisted, and he had already started some communications with Seller, and I guess Seller had messaged him back and said it was because he had used the bridge, pulseramp.com. I'm like, oh, well, that's a little bit concerning. That's interesting. What's going on here? So I started digging around some more, found some pictures. I attempted to use the bridge myself. I reached out to some other people. They attempted to use Seller's bridge. And anybody I talked to that had used PulseRamp bridge was unable to use Seller's bridge. And I said, well, I think this is actually happening. Don't know why it's happening, but it is happening, and it's worth it's worthwhile information for the community to know about, because we can't only talk about the good things that happen, and And then when something bad happens, the community is just unaware and taken by surprise and maybe even screwed if it was something serious enough, right? So I thought it was worthwhile information to share.
So what exactly is the ramifications of this? It sounds like there's one DeFi project that is for one reason or another suspected they don't think PulseChain people interact with the bridge are legit in one way, so they're not letting them interact with their product. And then I guess what is the impact to actual users on this?
TRM Labs keeps a record of addresses that are validators that are not OFAC compliant is one example of what they would stick on a list. Addresses that are known to be from a hack or a theft that have obtained funds, they'll stick those addresses on a list. Addresses that, the Department of Justice has said, we believe that those are, fraudulent, or there's some sort of investigation going on, they'll stick those addresses on a list. So it appears TRM has labeled PulseRamp as an investment fraud, is how it's described. Even though it's just a bridge, just a way to and from a blockchain, it's on their list of investment frauds. Now, why? Is it because the SEC has labeled Richard as a scammer, and PulseRamp, PulseChain, and Hex is all part of that? And in their document, their SEC document, it kind of lists all those things as scammy. So they just ran with that and said, let's find those addresses, stick it on there. Now anybody who interacts with that is going to come up on a secondary list over here and be blacklisted. I don't know. Okay. Now it's worth noting that a lot of this is very subjective. So just because one entity like TRM Labs put PulseRamp addresses or addresses that have used it on a list, well, who uses TRM Labs? There's dozens of hundreds of DeFi protocols. There's hundreds of bridges, and they certainly don't all use TRM Labs. And other security organizations may have different criteria for lists, or better understand the ramifications of just blanket blacklisting, all users. So it's not the end of the world. Okay, there's still other ways in and out of PulseChain. There's still on-ramp methods. Where people should get concerned is if, let's just pretend in a couple days, another bridge and another entity, or God forbid, a big entity like Circle or the maker people who have controlling votes, they vote and they do something that blacklists, all users from PulseChain or something. If it starts to become a pattern where entities just one after the other start doing it, that's when we should all kind of scratch our head and say, this ain't good. But at the moment, it's just one entity. It's not that big of a deal. It's going to be okay.
Yeah, even then, even the imaginary horrible of like Circle or like some big entity and platform where we're fun back and forth and they have control over that stuff and the centralized pieces of it. Even if that happened, isn't that like why we're building all this stuff, all the community products, all the fiat on ramps, all the 0x Coast building all this stuff? Isn't that the reason to get rid of the gatekeeping and try to at least limit it or avoid it as much as possible if we have our own stuff to use?
Well, that's one. We're building it because we have a community that just likes to build things internally and not have to rely on third parties or wait for third parties. People prefer to rely on the people they know and wait for the people they know, right? And maybe there's a little more trust having your peers build these tools. So that's one reason. Another reason, sure, is censorship resistance, perhaps. If not saying that if there's a builder on PulseChain that is centralized, and they receive some sort of order from a government, right? There's still going to have to be some sort of that entity would still have to comply. But the majority of the things being built on PulseChain are completely decentralized. It's just code on the blockchain with nobody controlling it once it's deployed. Mutable stuff. That stuff is unstoppable. Bullish, bring up what Bullish just said. And it's worth, I don't think we can do it on stream here, but I'll certainly go in and do some research and attempt to do a transaction through seller. But he says that after TRM and seller talk to each other, it's no longer on the list, right? So
boom, winning.
Nice. Well, and who knows? It could have been a false positive, right? It could have been someone, who trolled the community by reporting falsely to get something listed. This would not be the first time that someone who is around the community has tried to do things like that to PulseChain, Hex, and etc. Right? So there are people who want to just out of their own anger and frustration want to do ill will to the community or to the product, to PulseChain as an ecosystem by trying to do things like this, right? So I mean that's always a possibility. Again, it could have been a false positive as far as whatever flagged it in the first place, based on some algorithm that group uses, maybe falsely identified it. We have no idea, right? Because obviously they're not going to explain it to us. But if it is cleared up and rectified, then that's awesome. That's great news.
Yeah, all these things I feel like, putting into context, it just seems like there's a bunch of companies doing a bunch of stuff, and there's always somebody who's making a decision that maybe we've empowered you to make decisions, but where's that data coming in from? Who is did they check with this person, that person? Now they start it always gets messy when you start creating blacklists and all these different gates, all these different ways of trying to play whack-a-mole. Maybe you don't have good information or not. Could have been somebody could have just tried to FUD PulseChain, or they could have just looked and see, hey, whatever the SEC says, let's do that for now. But then you got people, maybe you get a lot of people complaining, a lot of people in the community saying, hey, this is my stuff, this is my money, this is my network. What are you doing? It's the opposite of what crypto was invented for, right? Stop trying to stop me from transacting. So that's pretty cool. You saw it live on stream. We had ungate kept, and we just another win for us, hopefully. Knock on wood.
Definitely thanks to Bullish for mentioning that and helping us find that out. Yeah, it's not the first time that we've seen this in its ecosystem, right? And some of these things have nothing to do with PulseChain, but they impact, say, some of our users. So, those who are in the US, I think we first experienced being cut off from, say, 1inch, right? When 1inch decided they're no longer supporting, this market due to SEC regulations and other things, right? And then you see other DeFi projects start to maybe follow in their footsteps, where there are some projects that chose to rule out certain markets based on those regulations. Then you see something where after the civil suit against Richard Hart was announced, Uniswap, filtering out certain tokens from their front end, right? Focusing specifically on those items and not necessarily cutting off an entire market. So, this is not the first time we've heard of censorship within the crypto sphere. It won't be the last time, sadly. But the goal is having redundancy, knowing multiple routes in and out of your blockchain, multiple tools that you can work with, multiple dexes you can trade through, using dex aggregators, kind of like our PortalX that is live at portalxswap.io, to try to get you from point A to point B as efficiently as possible. Now, the nice thing is the aggregators, they call the contracts underneath directly. So it is the aggregator running the contract. It is not necessarily your wallet directly calling it. So, that's how PortalX is able to still aggregate 1inch as a service, even though you might be, say, in North America or in the US, where you normally wouldn't be able to access it because they're blocking IPs. So, there are other ways, and it's just a matter of just researching the tools that are available to you to be able to, to make the best use of blockchain in general, right?
Definitely. That's it never ceases to amaze me. All the stuff that comes up in our community is just, we have the tools, we have the people, we have the will to just make this thing into something amazing. And whether Richard's here or whether Richard steps away or whether whatever happens with things, I think that we have everything we need. We have the people we need here to build this cool stuff. And I'm glad that we could celebrate this win together on stream. It's always fun to see this stuff happen. So thanks, Jesse, for noticing it too. And that's something that, again, I know every time something that's people don't want to see or don't want to hear or otherwise comes up, FUD or real, it's not easy to talk about. But again, this is, to me, I look at it as an opportunity to understand, what's going on out there and how things are working. And in this case, we just got a reversal. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it better to be educated than to put your head in the sand and cry FUD, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Bringing attention to this stuff sometimes helps the community come up with a solution or puts a fire in people to go reach out to them. So when I see stuff like this, and it's like, let's say Mr. Takami's account is pretty small. So when he first posted, not a whole lot of people, like he had a couple people replying, but nobody really had any idea, right? It wasn't like everyone in the community knew about it. So, I think sometimes because I have a bigger account, more followers or whatever, okay, this is something that needs to be heard, and I'll retweet it. And then next thing you know, a couple days goes by and look, PulseChain's whitelisted again, right? So, I post about good stuff too, by the way.
Jesse, are you sure? I only get good information from you, and it's usually the bad stuff I need to know about. Are you sure you post good information too? Or the good stuff? Cool. Well, problem solved on that one. Glad we get that out of the way. I did want to, while we're on this, let's keep going down this a little bit too. We're gonna start with all the dim fills, and we're gonna go all the way up to all the exciting stuff. What do you guys think? I'd like to get your take on. And again, this is something I love going to Jesse's Twitter feed because there's all kinds of just little cool things that I've either seen before, I liked, or I haven't seen before, and now I get informed about. RHSEC, what's like the best worst case? How are you all thinking about, especially as a team building on PulseChain? You've invested a ton of different resources and otherwise into making this thing work on this new network. Its impact, SEC stuff on the ecosystem, and how do you all think about that? And especially seeing Richard tweet a lot of this stuff. Are you optimistic? Is there a plan B? Let's talk about that for a little bit.
So the community, which happens to be, 200,000 people or something, right? The community is still hovering around PulseChain. Even though, there's sellers and there's some worry what's going on with Richard and his lawsuits and stuff. The community itself, like the majority of the people, are still hovering around PulseChain, anxious to know how this all plays out. Still excited when new things launch. There's still participation in new protocols and even memes and shitcoins and stuff that's launching is still being participated with. So, that's positive. This could all turn around. We don't know how it's going to play out. Okay. In my opinion, it appears Richard is trying to avoid being served, in my opinion. I don't know that he's doing that. It appears that way just from his profile. It says he doesn't read magazines or communications of any kind. He has comments turned off. He's not. It appears nobody knows where he is. So it would appear he's just trying to avoid being served. Now, is that the best technique? Probably not. He thinks it is, but maybe it's not. Because I don't believe these sort of things just disappear because you can't be served. I think they'll just keep trying to serve you. They'll keep extending. They'll keep they'll just push the calendar, keep pushing the calendar out. And you might piss them off enough where they start getting on the phone with the other investigators who already appear to be in the mix. You know, there's already been people who are contacted, you know, by the FBI with the other subpoenas that went out to Hexicans, right? So is actions like this just going to light a fire in those guys? But to take it a step further, I have no idea, right? But eventually, we'll see how this all plays out. I don't know how that's going to be.
It definitely seems like he wants more. You know, I joked, I'll be served when I'm ready. I could hear that, like maybe being part of the strategy, or he wants to, you know, sort of control the timeline. Again, assuming, you know, he's known about this for a while, and sort of it's maybe hopefully making some chess moves. I would think so. But yeah, Long Vacation. How do you feel? You know, when this happened, especially as a founder building projects and stuff, is it something that, is it more of just like, oh, you know, we gotta wait and see, or yes, what was your reaction? And what have you seen since then that has gave you hope or otherwise?
Well, I think the important thing, and we've already kind of touched on it before, is that you know, remember that PulseChain is already fully decentralized, right? You know, so any validators, you know, and infrastructure that may have been run directly by, you know, Richard Hart, you know, he already announced that he had shut those down long time ago. So we, the community, are now the ones running this blockchain. So regardless of what may or may not happen to one person who's very, you know, publicly associated with that chain, doesn't necessarily change the technology. The technology does what it's supposed to do, as long as we, the community, continue to run the validators and maintain at least, you know, some number of them, and the endpoints that, you know, that connect. Then, you know, we will always have the ability to access PulseChain and interact with it. So, you know, I look at it as, you know, the whole message that, you know, we've heard many times from Richard was around an uncensorable, you know, blockchain where we all could participate and be able to exercise our financial freedoms there, right? So I, you know, yes, it's frustrating to see, you know, news like this and the reactions from the markets. Is it a surprise? Not necessarily. The markets are always going to, you know, go into upheaval, you know, with things like this. You see that in traditional markets. You see that in crypto all the time. And you know, we're still nowhere near, you know, the next bull run. We're nowhere near the next cycle. So we still have time before all of that really starts gaining momentum. So, you know, without lots of, you know, positive news, we're just, you know, the market's going to react the way the market reacts. I think, you know, we keep building, we keep preparing, you know, everything that we have to launch on PulseChain to get it out there, because we still feel that, you know, there's no reason for the chain not to succeed. I mean, again, it'll continue running. There are bridges accessing it that will continue to operate. The community is still involved and continues to launch more and more utility on chain. So, you know, at some point we realize we hit a critical mass where things start to actually make a difference, right? And the market will then start to notice, oh, okay, this isn't just, you know, Hex. This is more than just Hex on another chain. This is an entire ecosystem of DeFi with lending and stable coins and DEXs and, you know, all manner of things that are coming to the market soon, right?
Yeah, the decentralization is key, and I like the moves being made there. Definitely with PulseX, I'm looking forward to more of the DAO stuff that's been talked about before. Actually, I was streaming yesterday, and somebody mentioned the V2, the V1 farms deal, some of the updates around PulseX that looked like I wonder if they'll be on V2. It'll be like the community run stuff, and V1 will be like the curated side of it. I'm curious to see some updates from there coming up as well, but. The decentralization has been a huge factor, and just Genesis validators exiting, as you mentioned, and the community runs this. I love RH, but at the same time, I feel like he is. You need founders to build things, and then the communities can sort of take over and make them into something more later on. Like once he built Hex, he didn't need to do anything else, right? Like community did all the work after Hex. Why can't it be the same with PulseChain? Whether he's tweeting or not. So that's the way I look at it.
And we will. I mean, if you look at it, if PulseX were to go down for some reason, right? It won't. But I mean, if it were to, for some reason, well, there's already, multiple DEXs running on PulseChain already. And there's also the, legacy items that were forked over from Ethereum that are still running. Right, PortalX connects not only with PulseX but also Uniswap and SushiSwap running. That were forked over from Ethereum. Right, so those DEXs are still there; they can't be shut down. Right, the contracts are live and they'll always be available. They just don't have a front end for you to interact with if you wanted to. But anybody can go and fork that front end and go and run it themselves. Right, and we know that at least one developer has already done that. Alex from Hedron. And Icosa, he had a working version of a Uniswap front end at one point on an earlier test net, right? So these things can all be done. It's just a matter of, like you said, the builders keep building, bring new things to the chain, right? And we can provide all the services that we need to make this blockchain succeed, right? Or at least be something that we all want to participate in. And hopefully others will want to participate in as well once they see the party going on, right?
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, there's a ton of different and people worried about PulseX or otherwise anything else that requires resources to run or front ends. You still got the smart code contract. You still got people building on that. You still got plenty of smart people that can, if everything goes down, there's all these backups. There's all these other products. There's all these smart people who can hey, here's how to do it. We're going to go build this. We're going to take this project up. So whether it exists right now or not. Great segue too. I want to talk about the different DEXs too, and how. So maybe you can explain PortalX swap too, just to because I know Jesse didn't mention it here. Why didn't you do that, Jesse? You can explain why it's the aggregation part and otherwise. But having all these products, what have you seen the last few months that has just been interesting as far as DEXs coming and just the ability to give users in the ecosystem just more choice and more features and more options to transact in this ecosystem.
So I didn't mention PortalX at that moment because I think when I posted this, we were still working through our solution to integrate PulseChain again, right? So what PortalX is, it's an aggregator. It's basically a search engine. When you want to swap from one coin, regardless what blockchain it's on, and you want to swap into another coin, regardless what blockchain it's on, it scans and scours the internet, the different blockchains, and it finds these DEXs, and it displays those and shows you the best trade route, or it shows you a list of trade routes that you are able to take. You then select which route you want. Okay, now there's only so many routes in the PulseChain, and the route that was always being found happened to be through a partnership that OKX had with Change Now, and OKX decided they were going to delist Pulse. Okay, so when that happened, people could still use PortalX. There just wasn't any way into PulseChain, right? So what we did is we went back, we talked to Change Now, we found basically another liquidity partner out there that had Pulse, and they had to do some coding and make some things happen, and then bam, Pulse is back up again.
Gotcha.
Now, as far as for on-chain swaps, PortalX is always aggregated across 5 or 6 different dexes if you include the various different versions. So Uniswap v1, 2, and 3, Sushi Swap, and then PulseX versions 1 and 2. So all of those were aggregated, and when you did pull up that trade, you saw each of those were quoted. Right, some of them didn't resolve an amount because there wasn't liquidity for that specific token on that DEX. But you can see that all of those are provided as options, and if there's a quote, you'll see across all of them. Now, we do hope that will grow over time, and we're working with our service providers to expand to include more DEXs on chain. These things take time. But here you can then compare easily across these and say, okay, well, on this place I'll get this rate, and it'll automatically, pre-select the one that gives you the most tokens, across all the options. But if you don't want to use that specific route, you can always choose a different route from everything that's displayed there. So,
yeah, just playing around with this a little bit to see the different options on Ethereum too.
Yeah. Now, what this doesn't do is and it differs from the way this changes to PulseX is this will send the entire trade to one DEX, right? What PulseX is trying to do is to be kind of intelligent about breaking a single trade across multiple pools that are listed on both V1 and V2. Right. So normally they would not talk to each other, but this is trying to say, okay, I want to buy 10 million Pulse using DAI. Okay, well, instead of just going against one LP and swapping at that one rate, it's going to break it into 2, maybe 3 chunks and split it across in smaller amounts across multiple routes so that you might get a better rate and less slippage across those multiple routes, right? So that's a smart router that, will split up a single trade. PortalX is a smart router that will just optimize across multiple providers to find the best route out of all those providers to get you the most tokens on the other end. So,
and just on the DEXs too. So PulseX, Pitius, PHUX. There's a bunch of DEXs launching or launched, and the aggregation and the swaps between cross-chain stuff is definitely a game changer. When it came out as well. What is the why do we need different ones? Like, do people use one versus another for different reasons?
So actually, those are there's 2 different things going on with those Pitius, and you've got PHUX, and so Pitius is actually an aggregator also, right? So it'll scan and it'll optimize the trade route. PHUX is simply it's not simple, but it's a DeFi protocol. It's a fork of Balancer, and it has different algorithms for its trades, okay, and different fees for its trades. So when you go to something like PulseX, okay, it uses the X times Y equals K formula, which we won't get into today, but it's just a very strict formula for the rates going up and down for bigger amounts of trades. You have a far bigger impact than you would on the algorithms that Balancer uses when you do a trade. So for small trades, you may not notice much of a difference. You can go to PulseX and you can trade $100 worth of tokens. You're like, oh, okay. You go to PHUX, try and trade $100 worth of tokens, and it's like, oh, they're almost the same. But if you were to go to a pool that's pretty liquid, and PHUX does have some fairly liquid pools now, and then do a larger trade like $50,000, $100,000, $200,000 worth of tokens, you may see a drastic difference where you're going to eat a lot of slippage over on PulseX. But if you tried to do the same trade on PHUX that uses a different algorithm and a different fee structure, you may pay less. This is normal. Doesn't mean to jump ship and abandon one or the other. But it is a testament to this decentralization and options and plan Bs that are all necessary for a thriving blockchain. And competition is good. And yeah.
I think I remember Dylan talking about PHUX's superior execution on stablecoins. I believe the less slippage on that swapping between. So it seems like each one kind of has their own niche, or especially on PHUX, the ability to get liquidity for a bunch of the Maximus tokens, and otherwise, it really seems like it's solving a lot of different problems, or making things easier across the different ecosystems, sub ecosystems within the PulseChain too.
Yeah, so the platform that PHUX was forked from, Balancer 2.0, it has multiple algorithms or pool types that you can implement depending on the types of assets that are being paired together. So you're not using one formula for every scenario, right? So it can actually, by having a stable type pool, and then different things for different purposes. Stable swaps where your assets are typically same value, can be optimized then to have minimal slippage, even though you might be doing large trades with them. And if you look at Curve, that's a great example of a platform that's designed specifically for similar or like valued assets, like stable coins or wrap tokens, etc. So, having that additional capability is a huge step forward, right? And it's just a way of differentiating itself from, say, PulseX or Uniswap or, SushiSwap or something else, right? Not to say that one is right or wrong. It's just, there's so many different technologies out there. And like Jesse was saying, this is the beauty of a decentralized and diverse ecosystem, right?
Got a question here from Fast Abdul. What will be the main DEX for Power City tokens? Got anything on that?
Basically what the community wants, or maybe what even the best rates are, so I wouldn't be surprised if you found, say, Watt token more liquid on PulseX, but what if PXDC was paired to USDL and Coast stable token in their stablecoin pool, the pool that's designed for stablecoins over on PHUX, something that you can't have over on PulseX. You can't have a 3-token pool designed for stablecoins, right? So you may find some over on one more liquid and some over on a different on PulseX.
Gotcha. Let's bring it back to the FUD here for a minute before we move on to everyone chat. I promise we'll get to a Power City update. I'm excited to hear more about it too. But first, let's cover whale chart. We love a lot of the whale chart tweets, don't we? The biggest USDC withdrawal from alleged scammer Richard Hart's PulseChain today after rumored centralized stablecoins bridged over chain will be freeze. And you can see my reaction. I wanted to tie this in because there's been so much have happened, FUD, real, otherwise, over the last few months. Everyone's sack bags are way down. I mean, it's bottom, rock bottom. Some may say rock bottom prices. Who knows? Maybe we got another leg down. Maybe it's the bottom. Who knows? But if you're sitting there, you sack for PulseChain, sack for PulseX, sack for Power City or other projects too. Not that they've came out to go down or go up yet, but how is it that you kind of how do you get out of this? Everything is down. Why did I do this kind of mentality? Like, is it other than, we can all say zoom out. We can all say it takes time, delayed gratification, all the values that we really hold dear in the ecosystem. But for the people who've just been here maybe a year or two and haven't really bought into the ethos, how is it? Do they just need to play with meme coins to stay in? Like, is it, how do we get them to?
I said this earlier, right? The community is still here. All the people, you can see them all on Twitter. You can see all the wallets interacting with things on chain. There is literally just more sell pressure lately than there is buy pressure. Now, I don't think anybody should be surprised. So when let's face reality here. The market cap of Pulse, when all the tokens found their wallets, right? You look at where all those tokens are and you see some whales all the way down to minnows, And it was pretty obvious when you compare the quantity of tokens out there with the available exit liquidity that was placed in PulseX or bridged over to PulseChain. There was a huge deviation from that, right? So you had like billions and billions of dollars that people had, and just millions, small millions available in the liquidity pool. I believe that when that deviation is huge, you're always going to have more sell pressure. When that deviation is pretty close or gets closer, then you're going to have more buy pressure, in my opinion, right? You literally had a market cap that just launched way too high, and you're always going to have sellers. Now, whether there was FUD or not, there was selling that was happening before the SEC debacle with Richard, and there would have still been selling even if that never happened, because you have to, like some people describe it as, you have to wash people out, and I believe that's true. You have too many coins out there that people are just sitting on, waiting to take profits, and it just slowly happens day by day where people are dumping out of them.
I look at it, you need a macro view. If you're in crypto personally, right? I'm a hodler. I am not a day trader. I'm not a meme coin chaser, and that's just me, right? If you do that, you do you and knock yourself out. But if you take a macro long-term view, right? Imagine that in 2017, man, you heard all the hype about Bitcoin. You're like, darn it, I'm gonna pull the trigger, and you bought some for that top price, and it just dropped the next day from there like a stone, and you sold. Okay, so you acted out of emotion. But if you had paid attention and done your research and looked at the trends and understood the 4-year cycle, right? And you look at how these things worked out, if you would have held to the next cycle, you would have still multiplied your money long term, right? Eventually. Now, there's no guarantees whatsoever. No one's saying that if you hodl, you will always make money. That's not the point here. But the point is, if you take a macro view, right, these relatively shorter term trends, right? Remember, PulseChain launched in May. So we are like, 5 months away? I mean, it's still a very, very young blockchain. So if you look at this with such a micro view, then you're missing the macro patterns that have yet to really emerge. So, obviously you do you, and your own financial situation. So everyone has to do what's best for them, right? So no judgment there whatsoever if you're selling or if you're holding. But my point is, if you look at this from a broader perspective, we haven't even seen the patterns really start to form on where PulseChain is going and what it can do long term. When I say long term, I'm thinking 4, 5, 6, 8 years, right? And then you start seeing these macro patterns, especially compared to where Bitcoin and Ethereum and other chains are going, every major cycle, right? So
you want to hear a crazy crazy story? So check this out. I believe that for every person that makes money in crypto, there's other people that have either left their money on the table and walked away, or they're still waiting to make money. Okay, let me give you an example. A dining room table is crypto. Okay, the dining room table is the crypto sphere. All right, now you have to on-ramp some money into the crypto sphere. Okay, so I bring $10 and I drop it on the table. I've on-ramped $10, turned it into USDC or whatever else, and I left that money. I dropped that money on the table. RHMax, you do the same thing. You decide you're going to on-ramp into crypto into this dining room table. You bring $10 in and you drop it on the table. And LV brings $10 in and he drops it on the table. And I go ahead and I take $20 off of the table and I say, I'm out. Okay. And I go away. You two are now left with only $10 between the two of you. There's only 5 available dollars. Now, the question is, are other people going to come in and play? So the only available extractable real dollars is money that's brought into exchanges, swapped for whatever crypto. People can go and play and do whatever they want on the dexes. At the end of the day, the only thing available is what people swap for, send to an exchange, and what the exchange has available to give back to you, and then send money to your bank account. When an exchange, so this is how all crypto works, by the way. Now, when an exchange such as FTX takes all that value and then runs away with it, billions and billions of dollars, you always see that crypto in general has a mad rush to the door where people go, oh shit, crypto's now overvalued because there's money that's no longer extractable from this big game that we're all playing. And people start dumping out of their tokens as fast as they can. The prices of everything tanks a bit, goes down 10, 12, 15% until it corrects for what's actually available or what people believe is available back at the exchanges. Make sense?
That is an interesting analogy. As far on the bridged assets too, is that so? I kind of want to tie it into this. I think a lot of people have anxiety just wondering when the selling is going to stop, whether it's the macro, whether it's, the different indicators we have, volume, liquidity, bridged over assets. Is there simple indicators that you see outside of just being, the market cycle changing? Is there indicators that we can see when there's more, we have all the people flying by the table, dropping their money in, feeling secure about it? Like how does the average person even know what the pulse of the ecosystem even is when they just keep seeing the price go down?
We don't. It's too new.
Also, I mean, it's crypto is extremely volatile to begin with, just by definition of, being crypto and having the entire crypto market, under $1 trillion. Now, you look at a tiny microcosm within that entire crypto market, and, you see really the scale of things, right, as you go smaller and smaller and smaller. So, typically the way markets work is like water sloshing back and forth between, two tanks that have a wall between them, and they just keep getting like sloshed back and forth. And if you look at what's sloshing back and forth is appetite for risk, right? There are some people, when markets are really up, right, people are rushing into the market, and there's an appetite for risk. When the markets are going down, there's no appetite for risk, right? So everyone's rushing out. But remember, one person's disaster is another person's potential opportunity. And it's about how each and every individual is reading the market and deciding, are they playing ultra conservative? Are they playing a long-term game? Are they playing a contrarian view or not, right? So, you can say, well, on one hand, you look at the market price and say like, oh my gosh, I had X and now I have a fraction of it. I better get out while I can, right? Or you look at it as like, I had X, okay, but now I have a fraction of it. But if I put in a fraction more, I lower my cost basis so that, when the time comes for the market to kind of bounce back a little bit, I actually have more of an increase in value, and my gain will be impacted by, kind of dollar cost averaging, into the market over time. Right. And a great example of that is if we go back to the 2008 financial crisis, here we see the traditional markets just in a free fall all of a sudden, like overnight. And you hear stories about how retirees were freaking out and yanked all their money out of the markets as it was, in a free fall, and were so conservative that they never put it back in until long after the markets recovered. And what they ended up doing was, yes, they saved themselves maybe from the bottom just a little bit, but they lost all the recovery that would have then multiplied that money in the long run if they would have taken a long-term macro view, right? Because time in the market, more often than not, will beat trying to time the market. And all these adages and little, silly sayings that from traditional markets, they still apply in crypto, right? I mean, because we're just reacting to how, emotional investors are reacting to the market, right? That's what they're doing. So crypto is just amplified, one, because the market is smaller, right? And two, because it's primarily retail investors and not institutional investors. And why is that a big deal? Well, retail investors are historically emotional investors. You see a number go down, you're freaking out. And right, how many memes are out there that, like, chart starts going up, you rush to buy, and the second you hit buy, it starts diving, right? And then you sell out of fear, and then it starts to go up again, so you buy again, and then it dives, right? And there's memes that kind of keep showing that cycle, but that's the human mentality, and we are kind of wired for that. We have to learn how to turn that off. And that's how institutional investors have systems and rules in place of when they invest and how they invest that help normalize these things, and they manage their risks, right? They're taking some of the emotion out of that equation. And we as retail investors need to learn that, right? But right now, crypto is an extremely emotional market. I think this is what we're seeing, especially in PulseChain, right? And like I said before, no judging whatsoever. Someone's selling, and that's what they need to do, and that's what they want to do. It's their crypto. They have every right to go do that. We don't have any right to tell someone how to use their own crypto, right? So all these people who are trying to use Twitter and YouTube as a bully pulpit, calling people out for selling and this, that, and the other, it's like, no, we don't have any right to tell anybody what to do with their money, but we can try to be smart about what we do with our money and understand what our needs are, and to try to be conscious about our emotional triggers when it comes to money, and find ways for us to take that out and be a little more analytic about it, and know what are our goals, what are we shooting for, what do we want out of this, and then to monitor the markets and to try to look for ways that we can then see, are things turning around, what's going on in the ecosystem, are new protocols coming live, are there new routes coming onto chain, are there things happening here, is my TVL going up, my total value locked across the different dexes, more liquidity, am I seeing more transaction volume? Like, these are all indicators that something is going to be going on, right? When we see these things start going up, then something's happening on chain. And regardless of how many people still might be selling and running for the door, again, that's creating an opportunity for someone else who might see value there. So
that's a very good broad picture you painted there, especially with the nuance of the markets before. And yeah, retail traders being the majority, and you can sell and buy much faster because we cut out the middleman. We've got, for the most part, we stay out exchanges. However, if you want to sell all your stuff, there's enough liquidity there. That order will go through if you get the gas. You mentioned meme coins and everyone, playing their own games and deciding what they want to do. You cannot tell anyone what to do with their money, but I came across this chart recently and I thought it was I just want to bring it up every once in a while, just to remind everyone, yes, meme coins, I'm sure have made a lot of people rich. However, if you sort by all-time high, Cummies, Garlic Coin, and Loser Coin, there's quite a few that are literally down 100%, if that's even possible, 99%.
Hey, go back up.
Yeah.
The first one on the list is Bambi token. What is how has that done since it's launched?
I don't know if they have enough data because it's not showing.
It might be too new.
Are you a Bambi guy?
No, but I have a comment about it.
I'll have to check on another site. I'm not getting any charts on this one. Do you want me to pull up a chart for it somewhere else, or you got some commentary? MB coin.
I don't have commentary yet until we see the chart.
Okay. Let's go to our favorite website here.
Okay, there we go. All right.
Oof.
So,
bam.
This won't make.
Sorry, I forgot to click log. Hold on. Okay, go.
So there is a famous crypto influencer in our community who showed this.
Oh,
No, it's not B Roots. It's another guy. And look what it did, right? So do these things pump? Sure. But are you going to be able to get it in time where it doesn't just go look like this on you? Probably not. That's how most meme coins go.
So it's interesting. This is another one of those things, difference between traditional markets and crypto markets, right? In traditional markets, you have what's called insider trading. And if you are, say, running a talk show that talks about new stocks of the day, and you only show the things that you just bought that morning so that you can basically pump the price up and then exit on everybody, right? That's insider trading. And just manipulating the market, right? In crypto, it's the Wild West. And people need to remember that when someone's telling you we have a hot new thing coming out and this is what you need to get into, you always need to question motives and, where are they coming from, and do your own research around, the fundamentals on what it is you're looking for. Now, if you're looking for memes and you're looking for, jokes and things, that's fine. Then you know what you're looking for. But just because someone says this is the new hot thing and you take their word for it in crypto, right, you got to be skeptical about these things. And not everything's going to be a scam, but not everything is a guaranteed winner either, right?
And they always have some crazy story attached, but no actual proof or verification, right? So in the case of that Bambi token, there was a Wahoo story behind it, like, oh, the creator of Uniswap is the one. He's the one who created this. Trust me. I'm in an inner circle of people, and he's one of the developers. He's one of the founders. So you might want to get in on it, right? So, like, you'll hear things like this, or you'll hear, oh, Richard Hart is the creator, or so and so is the creator, or I heard that Vitalik's going to buy it tomorrow. And people believe all these narratives and they go, oh, I must still be early. Let me buy it. And then they just go down.
$14 billion market cap with meme coins, almost 300K mil in volume. There is people playing these games. And, it's to me, they're just short-term games. I just automatically avoid most of them for that reason in particular. I like playing long-term games with long-term people. And I try to stick to those principles, and trading and otherwise has never done me much good. So if nothing else, just sticking to my principles has kept me away from meme coins. That, and I like coins that have a positive feedback loop with RH ecosystem, and Garlic Coin, Loser Coin, Light Doge, Bob, Yushi. Again, I'm sure people made money off of them, but the majority of the people, if you think you're going to be one of those people, I would be very sure about that before. Again, not giving any sort of advice, but I would be very sure about what data I have and what I'm trying to do, what my goals are, and if they're in line with my investment thesis before I participated in anything in this market cap.
Yeah, and that market cap is kind of BS too, by the way, right? So market cap is both the coin side from the DEX, but it's also adding in whatever it's paired to, whether that's ETH or USDC or whatever, right? So you can have a $1 billion market cap coin that has like $1 in it of actual like liquidity paired back to ETH, and still have something that shows $1 billion market cap. So that's, you should never just look at that and just take it at face value. Go look at the pools, see what's there.
Yeah, the point for that was just like, there is a market. There are people playing this. It doesn't seem to be going away. It's just I don't think people quite know. I don't know. Again, you may come in I gave this analogy the other day too. It's like you go to the bank, say, hey, I'm going to start a business. Okay, the bank's like, what is it for? Like, what are your goals? What are you trying to achieve? Oh, it's just for fun. I just want to gamble a little bit. I just want to get some entertainment. I wonder if they're going to give you money or not. Like, it's just that kind of like, people reason about these things. So I guess be honest with your intentions when you come into crypto and about what you're doing. It's like, don't lie to yourself. One of those kind of things. So anyways, meme coins be meme coins. Let's get
in poker, when you sit down at the poker table, if you can't spot the fool, you're the fool, right? You don't want to be that person who doesn't realize you're in a game whose rules you don't understand or know how to play. And, if you want to play the meme game, the day trading game, know the rules, understand how it's played, learn the theory, and then you go into it educated. But if you're just randomly hitting buttons, right, you can do that in Vegas and you can lose just as much money, if not more, there too, right? Having just knowing exactly what you said, right? Knowing what you want out of it, setting some goals, and then doing your research and learning, like, how would you go about doing that? And, doing your research about the projects that you want to invest in. It's the same you would do in traditional markets, investing in stocks or, mutual funds, ETFs, and things like that. Just an ounce of knowledge goes a long ways.
Yeah, and this is not a hit piece on meme coins or otherwise. I could literally give you the steel man case of why meme coins should exist, and people, it could, I even hate to say the word healthy. However, I think the ability for them to bring people in or keep people in, and help, even if they're playing games, they're playing within the ecosystem, they're creating volume, they're creating, they may bring other people in. I know that's not, it's not always the crowd that's going to amp up the community and be good long term, all that stuff. However, I can see that if I were to look and see what good can come from meme coins, I can make a case for that too. I just think overall it's just this. Some people win, most people lose. I don't like playing those games. That's like the way I put it. But everyone makes their own choices. Power City update. What's happening, gentlemen? I don't know who wants to take it. We're going to get off Bambi Coin. We're going to talk about PowerCity.io. What is the latest? Everyone's been asking when launch, sir, when more stuff. A lot of people are excited about it. You guys want to talk about that?
Yeah.
So we talked about. Go ahead, Jesse.
Excuse me. So PortalX up and running, constantly evolving. You will likely see more dApps appear on it over time. And more bridges and such. More places decide to support PulseChain. That's just going to continue evolving. All right, so that's ready to go, fully functional. Anybody can use it. On testnet, people can go use earn.powercity.io. They can collateralize some PulseX, mint themselves some PXDC stablecoin, give it a try, and participate on that. Now, before that goes to mainnet, we are waiting for the fetch pricing oracle solution to go to mainnet. Now, that is completely out of our control. The Liquid Loans team is still working on that, and they're still waiting the final audit results of that, which I don't think are that far out in the future. When that gets released, then we will be able to move forward with Earn Protocol onto mainnet. It's already on testnet. The code is done. We've done our part. It's ready to go minus that little piece. So I know people are excited to use that. Go play with it on testnet. Understand how it works, because after fetch is released, that's going to be shortly behind, along with our core, which is the staking platform where you can buy some transferable NFT stakes and get your positions for collecting fees from all our protocols and such. That's going to launch as well. An amplifier right behind it. An amplifier, of course, is built on top of Liquid Loans, and then Earn Protocol also. You'll be able to eventually use it against both protocols. But they're all we're kind of in this holding pattern. We need the pricing oracle solution to be in place. All right. And that's a little bit out of our control.
Everyone watching, I was trying to figure out how to add testnet v4 on my thing real quick. So switching between screens. Apologies for that, but I got it working now just so I could show the earn dashboard. Long vacation. Where do you want to take us from here? Thanks for that, Jesse.
So yeah, like Jesse was saying, while we're waiting for fetch to come to mainnet, we have been doing a lot of work on testnet behind the scenes. While core and earn have been available on testnet for a while now, We actually have the next version of Core ready to go. We had to rewrite the entire front end to accommodate the upgrade to Wallet Connect V2, and that's not. A lot of DeFi protocols are finding that it's a very complicated process to do that, and that's why you don't see a lot of tools yet compatible with Wallet Connect V2. Now, if you don't use MetaMask, but you use like other wallets out there, you're very much reliant on that. And Wallet Connect retired their V1, so they're not going to be supporting it any longer, and kind of forced everyone to have to start making this transition. So our Earn protocol will be adapted soon. Our core has already been moved into Wallet Connect V2. Our amplifier platform was already made Wallet Connect V2 compatible. So we have a lot of that work already laid out. We still need to do Pixel Park, but we have each of these tools that are coming together, as well as testing fetch integration, and a couple of other things that we won't get into just yet on testnet, in private testnet. So while the versions that are public are available for people to play around with, and all the functionality is pretty much the same, we do have a couple of additions that we've been doing in private testnet, working with making sure that the Wallet Connect upgrades are working, connecting the dots between our multiple protocols together, so that the revenue from one platform feeds into the core as staking rewards, etc. And we're doing a series of dry test runs of deployments of all of our systems, right? Practicing these things and making sure that we can have solid deployments when the time comes. And this is a lot of work, right? This is not something that happens overnight. I know a lot of people are always asking when to launch. Software design and development is a process, and it invariably always takes 10 times longer than you ever want it to, especially when you're dealing with something that is supposed to be immutable and untouchable after you go live, right? If it's something that you can just continually update as you go, like an app on your phone, then we can push it out with bugs, and we can make compromises and whatnot just to get something to market quickly. When you're dealing with crypto, though, right, and financial applications, you need to put a lot more time and effort into testing, into your audits, into your development, your integration testing, your launch process, and everything. You need to put a lot of thought, a lot of effort, and a lot of validation into that, a lot of testing and whatnot, to ensure that you're getting a result consistently. And when you do go to market, right, when you're hands off those things, you can't go and say, oops, right? So it's imperative that we get these things done right, and we're taking our time to make sure that it's right, just like other teams have been taking their time and getting equally criticized for it. And the point is, I understand it feels like it's forever, but really in the end, you want solid performance. You want these things to work all the time. You never want to think about them having to break and then wondering, how do I get my tokens back, or how do I get my NFT, or anything like that. You just want them to work. And we're doing everything we can to make sure that that's going to be the experience when we get there. Yeah,
definitely. People ask a lot of questions like, I know you never get tired of it. It's been 2 years. Why hasn't the product launched yet? Asking about every PulseChain product that's not out there, that's only on testnet, or only launched PortalX, or only been very open about these things and only gave a lot of updates. It's always a question. Then they talk about what fetch and oracles and otherwise, that maybe Liquid Loans is still testing and stuff too. I mean, that's what do you say to people who's like, win what we've sacrificed? Is there any sort of timeline other than like, we have these estimations, we have these few things we're wrapping up? Do you feel like it's closer? Is there anything that can give people, do we think it's coming this fall? Like, what is the best way you can say it without actually committing to anything?
You can't commit to any specific timelines, only because we don't control when fetch goes live. I think Jesse explained the best information that we all have heard from the Liquid Loans team, right? And I know they're taking a very conservative, careful approach as well, which they should, right? Because it is going to be a service that multiple protocols will rely on. It needs to work, and it needs to work consistently. And then once that's available, we already have a plan in place to be able to start then knocking our things out and getting them to mainnet. So, we're just trying to make sure that we're ready. So when the time comes, we can move, and we can move, quickly and decisively with our deployments. And we're still developing some things that haven't even hit testnet yet. So, we had Amplifier for liquid loans ready for a public testnet right before liquid loans experienced that one issue on testnet, right? So that kind of scrapped that whole idea, and now they've relaunched. They have new contracts, so now we're going back and we're retesting our platform against the new contracts just to make sure that everything's remapped over properly. So, we're getting ready for Amplifier to come to a public testnet, and we're still working on Pixel Park. Right, we have the core marketplace ready. We're making a couple of tweaks of things that we need to get to our minimum viable product that we want to bring to market, and hopefully that will be coming to a public testnet relatively soon, sometime this fall as well. So, you talk about some projects, they announced something 2 years ago and they built one thing and they barely have it on testnet. We built 5 things, right? And we have half of them on testnet, one of them in production, and the other 2 are coming relatively soon, right? So it's a monumental accomplishment for a team, that's our size. And it's, we took on a lot, we've accomplished a lot. And I think when everyone starts to see the enormity of what we're bringing to the market, when all these things start going live, it'll really start to make sense.
Just to clarify too, does Power City rely on Fetch or no?
So Earn Protocol, just like Liquid Loans, will use the Fetch Oracle system as a pricing data source for PulseX, just like Liquid Loans will do it for Pulse. So there are multiple sources that it can pull from, but Fetch will be the primary source, and then there's some fallback sources in the case that in the event that Fetch is unavailable for some reason, so the protocol will always run, right? So we're in the process of testing on testnet that scenario where if the reporter goes down, do our fallback sources go live? If the liquidity somehow migrated on Pulse for PulseX from, say, one trading pair to another trading pair, well, we want to get the best available pricing data. So how do we manage the evolving ecosystem in our fallback rules, right, to make sure that we're always, forever in the future able to get the best available information, right? We're trying to solve all these problems because we're thinking long term, right? Not just how the system is exactly today. We need to be able to have it evolve and grow with the system over the case of 10, 20, 30 years, potentially. So
absolutely. Yeah. And another question from Fast here: will the Earn protocol be just like Liquid Loans but with PLSX instead of PLS for collateral?
Jesse, you want to take that?
Yeah, pretty much. It's the same code. It does the same thing. It just uses PulseX as the collateral token. That's the only difference.
Gotcha.
I do see a couple of questions. Why not Core? Why not Core? We don't. Well, remember what the Core is designed to do. The Core is the staking platform where you earn the, a portion of the revenue from all the things. So if all the things aren't deployed yet, and you launch the Core, now you just launch something that doesn't do what it's fully designed to do. Okay, that may or may not be good for the price chart or for people's wanting to continue participating in it. Right, when you launch something half baked, and then everyone's like, "Oh, this is dumb. It's not collecting the revenue from over there," and then everyone leaves. That harms all the rest of the users. So there's good argument to launch these things all very close together. There's other arguments in place that you could launch it first and then we know that the fees will come later. It's just at this moment in time, the decision we've made is we think it's best that all these things kind of launch together.
think of it this way: you go to a car dealership and you order a car based on what you saw, the display model you saw within the dealership, right? And they then wheel it out to you on a trolley because it's got no tires. You get the full car and everything, but the tires won't be available until the manufacturer has a new design. We don't know when that design is going to be available, but here you can take the car home and we'll give you the trolley that you can push it down the road on, right? That's kind of like what you're getting, where it's not what you wanted. It can't do what you want it to, even though it is a car. It can function. You can start the engine and you can run it, but you can't drive down the road from point A to point B in it yet, right? So you want all the components together. You want the ecosystem working together so that everything is doing its part. Then you have everything working together. Otherwise, you only have a sliver of it and you don't have your full functionality.
I'm just glad that PulseChain launched. I'm just, everything else it comes when it comes. Like if I'm glad we're not up here being like, so when do you guys think when do you think PulseChain is going to launch? I'm glad we're not doing that anymore. UFO to go. Looking forward to see Watts is on Power City. Yeah, you guys. Pixel Park and otherwise, Watts, we love our DeFi NFTs over in the Hedron ecosystem. Is that something that's going to be supported on Pixel Park? Y'all did any or talked about that? Any
and every NFT that's on PulseChain should be visible and tradable within Pixel Park. So whether it's a DeFi NFT like a Watsa or a stake within our Power City core, right, or an encapsulated hex stake. All of those are great examples of DeFi NFTs that will be tradable, as well as artwork and various different creative NFTs, and then also real property NFTs. The boxable NFTs that will be coming to PulseChain, where you can buy an NFT that is then redeemable for a boxable home that would be manufactured and delivered to you based on burning that NFT through their redemption process. So you're going to see all kinds of things on the chain, and Pixel Park's not going to be the only marketplace out there. But believe me when I say that it's pretty darn sexy looking, and the basic core marketplace functionality is pretty darn awesome. We also have additional things that we have planned that we want to bring to market that we think will just take it to 11 even further. So we've always been playing very close to the vest on that until we can actually get to a public test net. And we're really hoping that we'll get there, I want to say soonish, because we're not committing to specific time frames. So
somebody says market cap 451 billion. Is that correct? Remember, this is testnet. So it's all fake, right? The behaviors or whatever people, whatever they're doing, but it's not like real money, right? I think Watt launched at, a really low price point, or, whatever. And people wanted to participate and try it out. And on testnet, people aren't as anxious to sell things because it's not real money, right? So it's like, oh, I sell this thing for what? So it's a little bit unrealistic to ever assume that what you see here, a Watt price of 2.9 and a $500 billion market cap, is what's going to happen on mainnet. Just keep that in mind.
Well, if you click on the utilities tab at the top, you'll see on the right side of the page should show you the Pulse price as well. Now, understand, this is showing a $1.37 price for Pulse on testnet. So, put all that into perspective, right? Maybe someday we'll be there and we'll all be, living on private islands. But, these numbers are out of whack because it's a test environment and people do, just crazy things on test environments because they can, and because they're trying to push the system around and push it to its limits, etc. So,
and on testnet, I don't know if people know this, but you can mint unlimited DAI. The testnet DAI is mintable on a different blockchain, and you can bridge it in. So literally, there are people that think that's fun to do on testnet, or they need those tokens for their own testnet environment or whatever. So there is literally just millions and millions upon millions of new DAI coming in on testnet and then buying Pulse, and the price just keeps going up forever. But that's not able to happen on mainnet. That's why the prices are inflated on testnet, by the way, because of the endless minting of DAI that you can do.
Shout out to the beginning comments. I haven't got a chance to post yet. Festival. Make it verified. JustAskJesse will be fighting RHMax TheLongVacation simultaneously. You guys can take them if you work together. I'm all for teamwork. And then Toshi Flow says, link to join Fight Club, please. Had to shout out to our first fighters in the chat. Shout out to you guys. So fun. Awesome, guys. I wanted to just had one more thing before we. It's been a great conversation. I knew it was going to be. Really, really glad we could get together. I know it's been a while. I want to cover one other thing while we're here, and that is I want to get your all's opinion on if you're planning to retire in the next bull run, not long term, not the 6, 8, 10, 5, 5, 5, 5. People who are looking, everyone's doing their own thing. They're setting their own, finances up to work for themselves. But the next bull run, whenever it comes, if and when it comes, maybe 2024, 2025, 2026, suspected through there, I've heard rumblings, the best chances of retiring the next one. What do you, first of all, what do you think about these choices? And what are some of your own thoughts on just if that was a goal of yours, or if you were looking at people who have been successful trying to figure this stuff out?
Well, everybody's unique, right? And everyone has a different size bag, and so it's a hard question to answer. There will be people who make a lot of money in meme coins, for example, while 99.99% of the community loses a lot of money and then gives up their chance of retiring because a couple people made a bunch of money in those meme coins from them, right? So there's going to be people who do well in Pulse and PulseX and Inc farming just because of the way they've currently positioned themselves. And then other people may attempt to do the same thing and never be able to reach those positions. So it's super hard to answer this question.
Only ask the questions that are hard to answer.
Yeah, right. I'm a huge fan of the FIRE movement, and if anyone ever wondered what is the origin of the Long Vacation as a name, Long Vacation is our ultimate goal of retirement, right? It is our permanent vacation of not having to work and be able to experience life. And the FIRE movement, financial independence, retire early, fascinated me and is eventually what led me to crypto as well. But I'm a huge fan of diversification. I'm a huge fan of long-term planning. The goal is acquire assets that generate you money through income or staking rewards or rental income for real estate, dividends, interest payments, et cetera, right? Acquire assets that will pay you money, and then you don't have to work. Your assets will work for you day and night, right? So when you look at these, the goal is understand your own risk tolerance and find the tools that help you get to what your personal goal is. And it's going to be different for everybody, right? So, if you want to do farming, you want to set up an income stream, all I'm going to say, just understand is that consistent, steady, retire-worthy income in crypto is fleeting, right? So something that you're making great staking rewards from today doesn't mean you'll be making it tomorrow, let alone 6 months, 3 years, 10 years from now, right? So when you talk about retiring, you definitely want to have these long-term views. And due to the volatility of crypto, you get these massive upsides. You also got to be able to stomach the downsides. So diversification, allows you to absorb some of those hits and be able to not be totally blown out of the market and have nothing left when you're in the bottom of it here, because you have other assets and totally unrelated, decorrelated things doing other things for you, right? So I would love to be retired, right? And that's definitely my goal. Is it this next cycle or is it beyond? Who knows, right? But it's not just crypto. Let's just say that. crypto is a big part of it. And I think we all believe in crypto. We believe in the financial freedom, the uncensorable nature of blockchain, right? The expression of our freedom of speech through blockchain. I think we all believe in these things. So, there's always going to be something new and interesting that we can do through programmatic finance here, that the traditional players can't offer, right? But that doesn't mean that traditional finance is also worthless, right? I mean, these are all tools in the toolbox. You pick the right tools for the right job, but depending upon what it is you're trying to build for yourself, right?
The reason I like things like liquid loans, earn protocol, balancer, curve, convex, beefy, phux, these sort of things, because you can use assets that you have currently, put them to work for you, and these tools have ways to protect yourself from downside, right? So like earn protocol, when you collateralize PulseX and you take a loan and you put that value to work for you somewhere else, if the value of PulseX goes down, you kind of have a stop loss in effect, but you still have all that value that you put to work. And liquidity farming using stable coins is like a brilliant strategy for preserving wealth that a lot of people don't know how to do quite yet. But I think in time, you keep seeing these tools pop up on PulseChain. People are going to learn how to protect themselves from downside.
Protect themselves, or they rickety wreck themselves. I like it. Okay, we got the tools, we got the power. Hashtag Power City. Gentlemen, great conversation. What's up, Neil, for T-shares? Good to see you as well. Chat, I did not talk to you hardly at all today, but that's because we had a lot of topics to cover, and boy, was this a fun stream. If you're just joining, hashtag replay gang. You should rewind and watch it. It's been a roller coaster of emotions for the people on stream as well as people in the chat as well. It's been fun. Thanks for keeping it civil, everyone there as well. Chat was pretty clean today. I like it. Long vacation. Just ask Jesse. Where can what do you want to take us out on? Where can people find you? What are you looking forward to? What is something good or bad that you're looking to get into or avoid in the coming weeks of this wonderful world of crypto?
For me, just continue to work and work with the team to prepare for launch, right? We just want to have everything ready when the right things occur and we can actually start pulling the trigger. We're just going to keep doing our job, and we're going to keep prepping everything so that we can bring all these tools to market. I'm excited to see, everyone's reaction when they do get the chance to use Earn, to put their PulseX to work, to mint their own stable coins, to be able to apply some of the automation that Amplifier will bring to the table and maybe run some of these strategies, or automatically compounding your stability pool and your staking pool rewards. Just so many things that can be done. I'm really excited about it because the more utility we can bring to this ecosystem, I think the more we'll see setting up for the next cycle, all the things that we'll be able to do when the time comes.
Absolutely. Jesse, what's good, man?
Yeah, the community, especially the Power City community, remains positive. I invite everyone to join the Telegram, Power City IO. There's a lot of discussions that go back and forth there. Some little sidebar conversations that even happen there. It gets kind of fun. Everyone stays positive. And then just keep a lookout on Twitter for any updates at Power City IO.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to looking at all the products. That's what makes me so bullish on this ecosystem. There's so many things that haven't happened yet that are, seemingly obviously inevitable in a good way. So many things that haven't launched, so much money that hasn't been deployed yet, so much, funds getting unlocked. We'll see what happens with those, with the different sacrifices and otherwise. But boy, it's nothing but excitement, honestly. It's the FUD just rolls off the back like the haters' tears, as RH might say. So very cool, guys. Thanks again for joining me. It's a fun one. And I look forward to more Power City updates and and launch when it's ready. Launch when it's ready. That no pressure from here.
Well, thanks so much for having us. We appreciate it.
Of course. All right, everyone. Scivive and 5555. We are out.